So when I say to you, Director of Diversity Lending and Strategic Partnerships, you probably say, okay. But when I tell you that this is the guy that when I think of the mortgage industry in a sense where we could get bored or we're having a bad day or whatever, like this is the guy that recenters you. When you get focused on his story, his passion, and his purpose, it's going to connect with you. It's my pleasure to introduce you to Montel Watson. Montel Watson, how are you?
I'm fantastic, Bill. How you doing today?
I love that answer. I'm really good. I'm super excited to see you on my calendar and know that we finally got this scheduled. Like we've been running at this for a while, right?
I'm super excited to be here. Super excited to be here. Great
Well,
thing.
here's what I love about this particular call because I've been interviewing for, I don't know, man, 25 years, top producing realtors, top producing lenders, leaders in mortgage lending, um, people that are just all in because that's my focus. I'm just always fascinated by people that are all in, whatever it is that they do. And so what I love about you is you are 100% all in on your focus around diversity lending and strategic partnerships. But what I would love to hear is how that happened. Like I know that you are,
Mhm.
but I don't know where that began. Like what lit the match to the fuse for you?
Yeah, gosh, I started off in lending some time ago, in 2008, and that led me to the experience of going to get my own house, right? And as I started to go through that experience of getting my own house with my beautiful wife, man, what I noticed of it throughout every single home that we went to look at, I talked myself out of owning a home. Every single one of them,
Mm,
whether it's like, can't afford that, or like every reason in the book that you can think of why I shouldn't own that home or that
mm.
property. I kept talking myself and my wife out of it until the last house that we seen. My wife was like, "I'm no tired of it. We're getting this one. We are getting this house." And that house changed our life, right? It changed our
Wow.
life. And to understand the power of home ownership, what it can do for you from generational to generation, passing on the wealth that you can create, and what it's done for me. I've owned several homes since that, owning that first property. But the most important piece out of that story is that as I look back and I think about my family, my parents, my grandparents, and understanding that I never seen home ownership. We were long-term renters. We rented. We would go from one property to the next property, the next property,
Yeah.
while renting. And I didn't really understand or even see that home ownership was for me,
Yeah.
right? And so when I had the opportunity to actually own a home, and I was a loan officer, so I knew how to get qualified for a loan. So
Right.
when I went through that process, because my mindset was that home ownership wasn't for me, I found every reason not to own a home. And so now today, as I think about home ownership in minority communities, I want every single person to understand it's possible to own a home.
Amen, brother. That is so good. I love that. And I love that that's your personal story. As I've told you before, Montel, I come at this as an old white guy, right? So my awareness of any of this really has only been influenced by you, and then my interest is piqued, and then I start doing more research, and I realize the inequity, the imbalance there is dramatic, and you've probably got some numbers and stats you can throw out, but it is so unbelievably life changing. Like right now, we're in an environment at the time that we record this, where all you hear on the national news is the rate at which homes are selling has been declining for 8 consecutive months. We hear that interest rates are at a 20-year high. And so what happens is, even if somebody was as fired up as you or your wife back then, all they're hearing is that, right? That what they're not
Right.
hearing is, well, that is true. But if you don't get into the game of home ownership, even at 7%, maybe you're going to get an adjustable and maybe you're going to refi down the road, or maybe you're just going to resign yourself to the fact that whatever, it's 7%, but the property is going to appreciate over time. And
Right.
if I project that out, exactly the ride you guys went on, the ride that we went on. That's the thing that is most materially going to change your financial security for your family. So tell me more, man. Tell me more about minority home ownership. Can you give our audience just some framework around what that looks like right now?
Yeah, so I think a good place to start to give framework is the history of housing. And you
Yeah.
talked a little bit about this. I think that if you are a reading person, The Color of Law gives such a beautiful summary of the history of housing, and specifically, for Black and brown communities, right?
Yeah.
And if you go back to the, I think it's believed the GI Bill of individuals coming back from World War II, being able to take advantage of a VA loan. And a lot of people of color were left out of that experience, right? Not being able to take part of VA lending. Then you have the Fair Housing Association, FHA. You have a lot of the restricted covenant deeds where you pretty much, and we still find these today, by the way, Bill, you still find it on legal documents pretty much stating that if you are not of white descent, if you are Black or brown, you cannot own this home.
Unbelievable.
Right? It's unbelievable to even still see that in writing today, right? And so understanding that if you take generations and you weren't able to take advantage of exactly what you just described,
Yep.
to understand that, you miss out on opportunity of creating that generational wealth. So that's one aspect of it. Then you fast forward to Dr. King dying, pretty much fighting for fair housing, the Fair Housing Act being passed weeks after his death. And so then you take that into consideration, and then now we are where we are today, where there's a lot of opportunity to own homes. Still have to fight against supply and demand, and like you mentioned, interest rates where it is right now today. But there's opportunity. There's lenders out there. There are agents out there. There are programs out there to help get more minorities into homes. And a lot of times it's breaking down the misconceptions, breaking down a lot of the information that is just misinformation out in the marketplace, and also bringing to light some of these programs and some of these opportunities to own homes. Because if you're like myself, I didn't think it was for me. And if you're taking that mindset, you're not going to start. You're not going to take that next step of what you just mentioned of just taking the next step of owning a home. And to kind of end on one last part, the same rate in the Black community of home ownership when the Fair Housing Act was passed is around the same rate it is now today. So we still, as lenders, as agents, and industry professionals, have a lot of work to do.
It's just mind-boggling to me. Because what I guess the optimist in me, right, wants to just say, well, cool, now we've got a level playing field. Not yet.
Right.
That's what I'm hearing you saying.
Yeah. A little bit, and that for sure.
So I want to speak to two audiences here. Primarily the people that are going to hear this and watch this are already in the mortgage industry, right? So I would love for you to address the opportunity, because that's the one thing I know, having coached top producers for so long, coached LOs for so long. I know that everybody's looking for an opportunity. As an example, we were just at Todd Duncan Sales Mastery a couple of weeks ago. There's a woman on stage. I think she had done 75 million. She certainly wasn't the top producer in the room, but she had a great story. And what she said was, her quote that just sent chills down my spine was, she said, my biggest fear is to sit idle in a shifting market. And it's like, oh, that's really good. You can't sit idle in a shifting market. And her point was, she said, you need a niche. And your niche could be VA, reverse, bond loans, whatever. But she said, if you figure out a niche, then you can market to the people that need that niche. And now you're in demand instead of on demand, which most loan officers are. You know that to be true.
Yes.
So knowing what you know, I'm just curious, like, what would you tell people right now that maybe have a heart for this? Maybe they're a part of that community. What would you tell them is the opportunity, and where would you have them focus right now?
Number one, that is a great quote. And I couldn't agree more, not only for the people that are industry professionals, but also for the home buyers. You have a lot of home buyers that are they were afraid whenever, the market was crazy. Now they're afraid when rates are where they are right now. Right. And so the number one thing to do is just take the first step of speaking with a loan officer or industry professional, so that you can understand your current situation, right?
Yeah.
And for a loan officer perspective, man, I've spoken to several loan officers who have said, you know what, I am going to raise my hand and say, hey, I want to help people that are overlooked and underserved.
Love it.
right? If you take that approach, not only are you serving, you're serving those individuals, but you're also serving yourself, because there's an opportunity there to help people. There's an opportunity there to help people. And there is, like you mentioned, Bill, there's niche. We have President's Club loan officers today that is where they started in their niche to get into the
Right.
industry, and their business has expanded, right?
Yep.
And they still look back today and say, if I have an opportunity to help someone that may be a bond loan, because there's a perspective, right, and a narrative that a bond loan is harder. I
for
don't
sure.
really want to take like there is a narrative around that, and I just encourage every single loan officer, as stewards of this industry, take advantage of the niche, but also, gosh, the opportunity to help somebody with changing
That's right.
the trajectory of their family's generational wealth opportunity. Like, it's just, you're changing someone's life. You're truly changing someone's life.
So at Movement Mortgage, we have a program that you talk about a lot called Grab the Key.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pretty great name because it kind of says it in a nutshell, right? Like, we know exactly what you did. You grabbed the key.
Mm-hmm.
And I would love to hear a little bit more detail around that. Like, if you had to just synopsize in a nutshell what the focus is, what is Grab the Key?
Yeah, so we created Grab the Key out of us really truly taking a step back to say, okay, let's look at homeownership rates right now today in the Black community and in minority communities, and understanding where they are. We were just, okay, let's actually talk to our community leaders. Let's talk to our loan officers. And a big piece, that resounding piece that kept coming back, was the educational empowerment directly to the community and being in the community. Well, that's a big piece, right? You're not trying to get people to come to you. You need to go to them, right? And so for us, it was important to go to the community we want to serve and create that educational empowerment to create generational wealth through homeownership.
Nice.
And so we traveling across the country, getting into the markets. It's a panelist experience that we are trying to get our industry professionals together and potential homebuyers together to bring awareness around this topic in the Black community and why it's so important. And I'll tell you, it has been a powerful experience from a collaboration perspective to hear the stories of people that go from homelessness to homeownership. There's a lot of beautiful things that are coming out of it, and it's just the beginning. We have the programs that come along with it. We have a lot of the, your credit restoration. We have different partnerships with third parties that have some rent to own type of opportunities. And then, you have some of the special purpose credit programs that are coming out as well. That Movement, we have launched our version of that, which is the Movement Mortgage Community Assistance Program, giving a grant out to the community.
I didn't know this. How awesome is that?
Yeah, it is a big, important thing. And, if you, just to touch on special purpose credit programs, the CFPB gave a ruling, almost a year or so ago, to open up the opportunity of a COA so that we can actually go out and create a program specifically for minority census tracts, right? And so now we have the opportunity to partner with Fannie to create these programs, to give grants, and to open up the credit box a little bit so that we can give more opportunities to people of color. Grab the Key just holistically has been just a great initiative.
Man, I love
we're not stopping now.
So, as a coach, right, I can't help but listen to this through a coach's filter. But as you're describing this to me, I'm thinking, well, let's see, what's the number one activity I should be involved in right now as a loan officer? Oh, conversations. I need to be having meaningful conversations. Well, I need a reason. I either have to go create one, or I need to create an opportunity where it's a natural conversation. This to me is an opportunity where there's a gap, there's a need, there's an interest, but there's not enough education around it. So what I'm hearing you say, don't let me, synopsize for you, but it sounds to me like if you're a loan officer right now and you're hearing this, and this is speaking to your heart, this is something you can run towards, where the materials are already created. The PowerPoint already exists. The scripting around the story is already there. There are videos of you doing this presentation. Like, somebody could run at this opportunity and begin opening dialogues and conversations, whether that's a transaction that happens next week, or maybe it's 6 months down the road because of a credit restoration, initiative. But you can create opportunity for people and feed your family at the same time if you want to run at Grab the Key.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And we do have loan officers running towards it. right? We have folks
Nice.
that are running towards it. And I just encourage other loan officers to do the same. It is a huge opportunity.
Absolutely.
To your point, but we have everything fully baked out for you. We are doing the events, but the events is a one-time awareness event, bringing education to that local community. The work still needs to be done after the fact, right?
You bet.
We still have to do the work after the fact, and we have the play ready to run, right? Ready for you to run the play. Just sprint towards it.
Man, I would sprint towards it. Absolutely. And on the Hispanic side, tell us a bit about Comunidad. What's our focus look like there?
Absolutely. So Comunidad and 2.0 is rolling out this week, right? And so we're announcing it.
Dose Point, whatever.
Sorry. So rolling out this week, and what our big focus on is to have a bilingual Spanish experience from start to finish, right?
Nice.
This segment and demographic is a growing segment in demographic.
Oh my goodness, man.
Be a major portion of first-time home buyers for the years to come.
For sure.
And the population growth in this segment is just absolutely crazy, right? And so understanding that as a lender, the community is still underserved. You have individuals that want to go through the experience in Spanish and cannot today, right? And so it's very important for us, as we know that and understand that, and where our heart is as an organization, we want to sprint towards creating that experience from start to finish. And big pieces that we're rolling out, in our 2.0 is disclosures, Spanish disclosures, right? There's a big ask from our realtor partners, from our loan officers and our borrowers. And now we have Spanish disclosures.
Doesn't this kind of fall into no-brainer category? Like
no-brainer.
Well, of course we have to have Spanish disclosures, right? Like
it's a no-brainer.
Big deal.
And then our op support, having our op support, and where we have our processor underwriters that are bilingual, having our loan officers across the country, we created a matrix so that other loan officers that have a potential borrower that speaks Spanish and they can't serve them, that they can refer to somebody that will take great care of them within the matrix, right? And a big piece of it that is a no-brainer, but the compliance that is wrapped around it, which we now have the full-on team to support this from a marketing and compliance perspectives. Our loan officers can market in Spanish as they see fit. We have a marketing catalog as well of documents, and our loan officers also can request and go through the process of creating some of their own unique custom documents in Spanish, right? So we have the program fully baked, ready to rock and roll. Another piece is coming is the Spanish 1003. Super excited for that, and our loan officers are as well.
Well, I love to hear this, bud, and I know this has been a long time coming. So that you're kind of describing a train that people are just looking at it for the first time, many of them right now. But you've been on this train for a long time, making this happen. And this stuff doesn't just happen; it happens because you and your team and a lot of good people have really leaned into this. Yeah, man, I really want to encourage, if you're a loan officer, if you're a leader, if you're recruiting loan officers, like, listen to this again. Be aware of these are emerging markets that, and maybe they're more than emerging at this point. Maybe they've emerged. These are emerged markets. Like, what are you doing if you're not paying attention here? This is something that not only are you doing the right thing by helping people out, but you're taking advantage of a market that is saying, serve us. We need more of this. To me, I think you need to run towards this. This is like selling pool filters in Palm Springs. I mean, come on, people. This is an amazing opportunity. So, Montel, as you think about your daily world, and by the way, so that people know, what were you doing before you were a loan officer?
Before I was a loan officer? Which part? Playing basketball or?
Well, yeah, let's start there.
Okay. Yeah, I played college basketball. And I got a little, if for any basketball fans out there, I got a full dose of Steph Curry. So Steph Curry was in my conference. So
right on.
I got a lot of that fun there. So.
Yeah. That's a bright light, man. That's a really bright light.
Yeah.
And then professionally, you didn't immediately go into mortgage lending. What was the first thing?
So I actually started off in subprime. So I was in subprime lending.
Okay.
So I was doing your 10% refis, stated income, doing a lot of that stuff. And then I moved into the banking world and then into the investment world.
Yeah.
I was at TD Ameritrade for, around 6 years or so. I built a book of business. I was President's Club there. And while there, that's when I met our fearless leader, Casey.
Yeah, man.
Through both of our wives doing the CrossFit and us in the stands yelling at them. So.
Oh my goodness, man. I can't even picture that. Both of your wives are just unbelievable forces of nature. So yeah, man, I'm just, I'm intrigued by how you got here. The fact that, you joined a company that was just opening in 2008, arguably the worst time in mortgage industry history, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so for you to have built what you have built and be a part of this and be so fired up and passionate about this initiative, to me is just very exciting. So any final thoughts on this as people are just kind of processing this, listening to this, hopefully sharing this, pushing this out? Like, what would you share with somebody if they're a loan officer, if they're a leader and their heart rate's going up a little bit, like they can feel themselves getting a little bit excited right now? What's the next step? What should they do?
Yeah, I think you touched on the emerging market piece, Bill. And as I think about it, if I'm a loan officer, if I'm a market leader, et cetera, in our industry, you have an opportunity to do good while doing good.
Yeah.
Right. And there's not a lot of times that you have that opportunity. You have demographics of individuals that had housing taken away from them in the past. Now we have an opportunity to help these demographics. Right. And it also can help you as you think about feeding your families, of doing good there while doing good. It's not too many times you have that opportunity to do that. And then doing it here at Movement Mortgage is, it doubles down whenever the 50 cent, I think you had the 50 cent piece, right?
Yep.
Of every dollar that goes in, we spend that money on our schools, right?
Absolutely.
I sit on the board of our schools, and to see the impact that our schools have, and we place our schools in areas that have low upward mobility.
Yeah.
4% chance of leaving a zip code. You zoom out of that and you look at the communities and where we place those schools, they're Black and brown, right? They're Black and brown communities. And we're giving the future an opportunity as, we are educating the next generation. We're also coming alongside the families, coming alongside our teachers. And we're also giving them that same empowerment that we're giving our folks out in the community, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's opportunity to have generational wealth through the opportunity of homeownership. So
it's beautiful, brother. It is so exciting to be a part of that. And I love the way that you shared it. Thank you for making the time today. I know you got a lot of stuff that you could be doing. I appreciate you, bud. People know how to find you these days. It's pretty easy to track somebody down. And Montel is that guy. Your email, if somebody wants to hit you.
Yeah, Montel, MONTELL.WATSON @movement.com. And Coach Bill, man, I appreciate you. Such a pleasure to be on here and a pleasure to stand beside you and lock arms, brother.
My pleasure, bud. Thanks for making the time today, buddy.